Cindy? Cindy?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Or,
Talk louder.
so, I was trying to do without this, but if I need it, that's fine.
I would appreciate it.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I'm really hard of hearing.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest in our schools and our kids and your community. I'm Rich Duvarney. I'm the Plumas Unified School District County Appointed Administrator. So I'm the guy that came from the state. Didn't come from the state, but yeah. This is Andrea White, and she is the County Superintendent of Schools. So in the past, what we've kind of done, or in a single school district like this, it's usually like the same person. They're the district superintendent and the county superintendent, but since we're in receivership, we have our county superintendent and I'm the state appointed administrator, just so that we have. And there's Barb, and Barb is in charge of everything and does an amazing job. So, yeah, thank you for being here. And what I have to tell you is not great news. I'm sure you know that, but I kind of want to give some specifics. We did November meetings and came through all 4 communities and gave kind of the rundown of where we were at, and then asked for input from the communities. What do you value as a community? What do you want us to keep? Anything that we could kind of not keep that would be helpful. And so we got a lot of information from the communities. We consolidated all that information, but we also separated it by community. So, we have tabs with Greenville and with Chester because the values are different in each one of the communities. And so that worked out really well. We got a lot of information. We sent out, we sent out student surveys, but they were more at the middle school and high school levels. We got them back, and there were like 420 student surveys that came back, which was really cool, and they had great insight, so we really appreciated that. We had parent surveys, staff surveys, and community surveys, so got a lot of information. So we got our information, and so now we're getting to the part where we have to start executing things, and this is the hard part. A couple of things, again, a lot of questions. Well, then, how the heck did we get here? Because this is a really bad situation. There's numerous reasons. I don't think there's one thing. And then I think that we get a lot of questions about, well, shouldn't somebody go to jail? And so when FCMAC came in and did their studies, they went through the books really, really closely. They found that there was definitely mismanagement. But there wasn't any real fraud. So it wasn't like someone was putting money in their pocket or anything. But there was just levels of oversight that weren't good. And then I'll get into it a little bit more later, but district office operations were just really bad. It was just, there was not a functional district office. So I was the Tehama County Superintendent of Schools until October, and so I have 13 districts in Tehama County, and as county superintendent, I had fiscal oversight and academic oversight over those districts, and I always say this would never happen in Tehama County because those districts had to report to my office, their budgets, their interim reports, all their fiscal stuff. It just would never have happened. In this situation, since it's a single school district, the California Department of Education was really the ultimate fiscal oversight body over the district. They didn't do a good job, and I had a Zoom with them today, tried to clarify that they didn't do a good job. And so, and they're actually are adjusting, because of Plumas, they're adjusting what they do in the future for singles and academic or fiscal oversight. So that's kind of some background. Really, just so that you know where we're at, there's 2 boxes. This first box is not really even a real box. So this box is basically says that if we never got a loan from the state, where we would be. So that's not even real. So what happened was when they came in, they said, okay, the district is so far in debt that we're going to need to give a $20 million loan to the district for 30 years. And this is the first district in the history of California that has ever received a 30-year loan. Because if you look at Oakland, Inglewood, West Contra Costa County, those were in receivership and they received 20-year loans. So they had a large budget. They got really, bad financial situation. And so then they passed legislation to give them a 20-year loan and then work through that. They looked at our budget of $42 million and they said, Loomis will never be able to pay this money back in 20 years. We're going to have to give them a 30-year loan. So that kind of gives you the level of where we're at there. So the second box is that the second box?
Yes.
Okay. This is in September, after the legislation was passed to give us the loan, we drew down $8.5 million from that loan. So we took $8.5 million so that we could make payroll, because we wouldn't have made the payroll if we didn't take that $8.5 million. And so that's what we have taken so far. My plan and our plan is to not take another dime of that $20 million. That's the goal, is just, cut enough so that we don't take anything else. If we were to just stay at the 8.5 million and not cut any more, then starting in 2027, we would be paying $600,000 a year to pay that back for 30 years. So that's kind of, $600,000 for every year just going to come off the top of your budget, and then we'll have whatever's left to deal with. Again, about a $42 million budget. And then the next section, the big thing is that 9.5. So the 9.5 is how much money do we need to cut? So we need to cut about $9.5 million, which is about 22% of our budget. And we need to do that like today. We need to do this now to get back to even so that we can start functioning again financially. And now this is a structural deficit, and it's really important to understand that. So a structural deficit is where you cut something and you keep, and that's what you cut forever. So in other words, if we have a position that we cut and it costs the district $40,000 and we cut it forever, then that counts toward that $9.5 million. If we have a building and we sell the building for $200,000, that's great that we have cash, that's good, but it doesn't count toward the structural deficit of $9.5 million. Does that make sense? So I think that's really important. So, we can sell off stuff and everything, and that really helps us with our cash, but it's not gonna help us with that $9.5 million. Other reason why we got in our situation is our enrollment has declined over the years, but our staffing has continued to stay pretty high. And then to kind of add to complications to that is we had COVID, and then COVID gave us some extra money, and that's great. But when the COVID money went away, we continued to fund those positions out of the general fund. In addition to that, I'm just kind of going through the reasons of why we got here. The business department was taking a $10 million interfund transfer, and that's how we were that's kind of how we were funding the district and making payroll. And then there was a time where they made an error in their calculation of the money that comes in of $3 million. And when they did that, that kind of all added up to like, wow, we're in really big trouble here. We don't know what to do. And at that point, they called in the state and they said, hey, could you help us out, see what's going on here? FICMAC came in, did very in-depth studies of the budget and said, you're in really big trouble here. So that's kind of where it all came down. And in, I think it was June or so, they had to pass the legislation to get us the loan. So that's kind of the backstory of how we got here.
So there was like internal borrowing against that business department, in the business department, you're saying?
Yeah.
Can you clarify that a little bit?
So like, we would have like this is another big, we would have like grants that had money in the grants, and there was for certain things that we were supposed to, but they would take the money from there and just put it in the general fund and then pay salaries and stuff out of that. So those grants wouldn't really, they would just take all that money, and that's how they survived for, I think it was just a year, but I'm not positive if it was longer than that or not. So that was.
Bad
Yeah.
decision.
Bad decisions, really bad decisions. And then, another thought I had. So anyway, that was kind of the backstory there. There's a couple of important things to understand too, is we have restricted funds and unrestricted funds. So the unrestricted funds is really what we're talking about here, is that this is just like the money that you have to do business. The restricted funds are more like your grants, your categorical type things, and they're for specific reason or specific tasks that we need to do, and that's where that money comes from. So when this is all fleshed out in the next couple of months, you're gonna say, why did they keep this and they didn't keep that? Well, it's because some of those things were restricted funds, and they just had to, we have the money in the grant, and so we might as well do it. But we couldn't pay for the unrestricted side with that money. So just kind of to prepare you for that, you're like, well, that doesn't seem that important. Why are you keeping that? So that might be the case. So we're going to get to the fiscal stabilization plan. So this is a draft of the fiscal stabilization plan. And this will actually be complete and done in February 11th, I think it is, at our board meeting. And this will come out February 11th with numbers and all that stuff. So before we get into the fiscal stabilization plan, I want to take a breath and see if anybody has any thoughts or questions. Yes?
You guys started looking at the Secure Rural Schools Act now that that's been put back in place. So you guys going to be looking for funding through that?
Yeah, we're going to get funding through that. Yeah, that was great news. Doug LaMalfa, unfortunately, passed away a couple of days ago, but he was our champion with Secure Rural Schools. We've been fighting for secure rural schools. When I was in Lassen County and in Tehama County, it has just been a battle ever since timber receipts went away. Really fighting for that. Finally, we got it, and so the district will receive $700,000 from last year, and will receive $900,000 for this year. So that's great cash. It's not going to help the 9.5, but it is great cash to have. So that'll be really helpful. We can't count it as ongoing money because we always have to go back and fight for that money in Washington every year. So, but that's a really good point, and that's some good news there, actually. Yes?
Are the people who made these bad decisions and bad management practices still employed in their positions? Are they still there?
Great question. No. First of all, whenever a district goes into state receivership, there's a few things that happen. The chief business official has to leave, and the superintendent has to leave, and then the board relinquishes their authority to be a school board. So those are kind of the three things. So in this situation, the superintendent left, I think anyway, and the CBO or business officer left as well. And there was some other stuff. So before I got here, Annie kind of took over, Andrea took over and reshuffled a lot of those positions. And there were problematic folks, and she dealt with a lot of that stuff. So the people that made the decisions at this level are no longer with us. So that's good. So I feel good. From a leadership standpoint, I feel really good about where we're at. We have, at the cabinet level, we have some really sharp people that really care about what's going on. So I have a lot of confidence in the high level folks. So, yes?
So at the Tuesday meeting in Portola, you were asked to talk a little bit more about the single, and you said that the state or the powers that be you thought wouldn't be receptive to separating out districts, but that they maybe were a little bit, and that you had a meeting about that scheduled for today.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit more about what you learned?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. So I've been hammering California Department of Education and FICMAT about, okay, what if we broke up Plumas County into, say, 3 districts or 4 districts, and the county office would get, basically they would get $200,000 per district, and then any district that's in differentiated assistance, having academic issues, they would get another $300,000 per district for that. So I said, so why can't we just take and break up the districts and have 4 districts? And so Mike Fine, the FICMAT guru, he says, well, he said, actually, when I wrote the legislation for your loan, I wrote in there that you can't do that. So there's no, until the loan is paid for, there's no opportunity to do that. If we didn't have a loan, then we could go through district reorganization and stuff like that and potentially get there. But at this point, as of this afternoon with our meeting with him, he said it's not happening. So that kind of blew the hopes of that. So I mean, that was my great idea, I thought, but it's not gonna happen, so unfortunately. Any other questions?
Do you know what the reasons were writing that in the legislation?
I think that the state needs to have someone responsible for the loan, and it can't be deferred. So I said, well, what we can do is we could just break up the communities by enrollment, and then we'll give each community part of that debt, you know? And he said, no, Plumas Unified School District is on record as responsible for the debt, and so there has to be the Plumas Unified School District paying it back according to the legislation. And then he made some good points too. He said, so all 4 of these communities would have to have their own school board with a little bit of a cost there. Each one would have to have some type of superintendent type coverage for their own little district. And then also they would have to have some type of business support as well. That was his point. I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think we could have been fairly efficient in that process, but that was his take on it. So at this point, I've kind of lost hope in breaking up the district into multiple districts, unfortunately. Okay. All right. So, couple of points. One point is we're going to make decisions, and all those decisions aren't going to be good for kids, unfortunately. So, so when you see something, you're like, well, that's not good for kids. It's like, I know it's not. But being $9.5 million in debt is not good for kids either. It's not good for their kids. The kids that we have, it's not good for their kids 30 years from now. So, yeah.
This might be a stupid question, but is it possible for Plumas Unified School District to declare bankruptcy?
That's kind of that's kind of like where we're at. So the state won't allow a school district to fail financially because there's no way. It's a public entity that can't, that the debt can't be collected from if they go bankrupt. And so this is the mechanism when they do go bankrupt, is to get the loan from the state. So bankruptcy and school districts aren't really a thing. I don't think there's ever been anything like that in history. So this is the mechanism to make sure that they get a district back on track, but then also that the money actually comes back to the state. So that's my understanding anyway. Okay, so what we found in our community meetings, that first round in November, is we came up, we found that the guiding principles for those meetings were to protect core student opportunities. So that's student engagement and all those things. Begin reductions outside the classroom before impacting instruction. So try to keep things as far away from the classroom as possible. Review administrative and district office structures for efficiencies. We've done some of that, and we're going to continue to do that at the district level as well as site level. strengthen communication and transparency, and that's part of what we're doing here. And then lastly, ensure reductions are strategic, equitable, and student-centered. Yes?
So reviewing administrative and district office structure efficiencies, where have you found to eliminate jobs there?
Prior to me coming, there was, my understanding, because I wasn't here, but last spring, tried to do a lot of layoffs and stuff like that. It didn't work very well. It was poorly executed, and so we didn't get a whole lot of savings from that. What happened, that didn't have to go through the process at the district office, and I'll show you here in a little bit. These are the positions. Yeah, these are the positions in the district office that were eliminated or collapsed or reduced. And so what happened there is we ended up saving about $198,000 in the district office last spring. And then I would expect to save more on this round as well. So looking at just making things efficient as possible in the district office. We need to have high-level people with competency, otherwise we're going to be back in this situation forever. So we need good, efficient people, and but also we can be more lean and we can do things more efficiently. And so there was $198,000 cut last year, and we'll continue that. So in our February board meeting, there'll be more cuts at the district office level as well.
Have you researched any positions that AI could take?
I have not, but good question. Yeah. Okay, so that was, okay, is that still the district office piece?
Now you're at position.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, and those were the positions, and that is the total?
Mhm. And then you have position control.
Yeah. Now I have one bit of good news, and here it is. We need to enjoy this. It's, so position control is when you have the documentation that shows every employee in the district, they have their position, their cost of their salary, their benefits, everything that they cost the district, and where they are and all that. So everything about that employee. And so you have that basically on a big spreadsheet, and then that shows you where all your money is going and everything. Well, Plymouth Unified School District did not have position control at all, which shocked me when I got here. Just absolutely shocked me. So in the last probably 3 weeks or so, we've gone through established position control, and in position control, oftentimes you'll see open positions. So a position that maybe was filled before but didn't get filled, or maybe a position that was there a few years ago, but we don't really need it. So as we went through organized position control, we found out that there was $1.8 million in savings just by going through position control. So that's great news, because that's $1.8 million that goes against the 9.5 that doesn't affect anyone's life. And that's, really, really good news. So, we're looking at close to 2 million out of the 9.5. So I celebrated that one. I was hoping to get $1 million out of that, but we ended up with 1.8. So I was very excited about that. Okay, so then after looking at that, we got the 1.8, so that's great. So now there's some different categories, and so the concepts that are under consideration. So what can we cut? I guess if you could picture like a big spreadsheet, and on the bottom there's a tab for every part of the district, whether it's Greenville Elementary, Quincy Junior High School, every school, and the district office, and maintenance and operations, transportation, everything that we spend money on, then you look at each one of those and you say, okay, what can we do without here? How can we make this tab more efficient? So that's kind of the process, if you can kind of envision that in your mind. And so the concepts that we came up with were administrative ratios, transportation department restructuring, teacher-student ratio realignment, and full-time equivalent reductions, consolidation of the Quincy Elementary, so the Pioneer and Alder campuses. We plan to put them both at the Alder site starting this summer to get them going for the fall. That'll save approximately, that we can figure at least $600,000 a year, which will count toward the 9.5, so that's good. And then the athletics program restructuring, basically what that would look like is the district continues to fund coaches, on the personnel costs, athletic directors, referees, that kind of stuff. So if they need jerseys and stuff like that, they're gonna have to come up with a booster club to kind of help out with that. So that's the athletic part. Teacher to student ratio alignment. So last time I was here, there were two concerns. One, that we were gonna close Greenville Elementary. That's not in the cards. That doesn't even make sense. And the other part was people were concerned about having combination classes. We will have combination classes. It's just the way it's gonna be. Otherwise, we're gonna have 12 kids in the class or, and so, sorry, that's bad news, but that's what we're gonna need to do.
Historically, we've had split classes, and there's a lot of positive education-wise for split classes.
Good, yeah. Yeah, and so, not all of this is super painful, but it's not really, or the best thing we want to do. But
And then administrative ratios, can you clarify? Is that just like, are there standards set for like X amount of administrators for X amount of students or something?
there is, unfortunately, we have a really difficult time with that because we have 4 communities that are so spread apart that we are really challenged in finding those administrative ratios. So, and then we're trying to keep things equitable between communities. And so, Greenville's an example. We have a full principal for a small amount of kids. And then if you go to, CRC and Quincy Elementary is gonna have a big group. It's gonna be, it's just not gonna be equitable. We're trying to keep the leadership in place because we feel like the schools need someone in place to go to. If you don't have somebody on campus that's responsible for the place, it becomes difficult. So we're trying to keep an administrator in place at each community and doing our best. And I think, I guess what I'm thinking in my mind is this year, kind of go with pretty much what we have throughout the district and then see if we can kind of pare down the following year on that. But there's gonna be a lot of changes this year. So it's gonna be difficult to not have like leadership in place, So the Pioneer Alder, that's still only good, it's gonna have one principal, but the way that's gonna work is not as big of a deal as I thought it was gonna be. So the kids, so what will happen is the 6th graders will go to Quincy Junior Senior High School. So that'll take care of them. And then the other kids will go to Alder, but the addition to Alder will only be 55 students. So it's really not gonna be a huge impact. So it worked out much better than I thought it was going to, but we'll do that over the summer. We'll have one site and it should be a pretty clean operation. So trying to keep leadership in communities in place as much as possible. Yes?
What are you doing with the other school?
Pretty much, well, you have Chester that has very low numbers, Greenville that has very low
No,
numbers.
I meant the other Quincy school.
The facility.
Oh,
Pioneer
sorry.
campus. Yeah, sorry.
Pioneer has Head Start there, so they pay us rent, so that's a good thing. And then we have programs that lease buildings that they're paying to rent, that we can bring them onto the Pioneer campus and get more revenue. And then the other thing we don't want to do is we don't want to just close down a building, because we know what happens when you close down a building, it just deteriorates. So we're going to keep programs at the Pioneer campus. The whole thing's not going to be obviously used, but parts of it will be used, and we'll be able to get revenue from those.
If parts are vacant, what if, the district office is beautiful. It was redone and it's gorgeous. What if the district office personnel operated out of the Pioneer campus and then that building was sold for some money to go towards this? Because it's a beautiful building and it's huge.
Sell for high dollars.
Yeah,
Oh, high dollars, I haven't thought about that.
all right.
Yeah,
There you
there you
go.
go.
There you go.
We're taking notes right
I mean,
there.
I love it, it's
Yeah,
beautiful,
it's
but
beautiful.
we're,
Yeah,
Or even
Hard
if we
times.
don't, even if we don't sell it, because it's selling one building may not affect the or $7.7
Right.
million that we have to do towards the end. But even using that facility as a rental for whatever business purposes would even
Oh, as far as
a
leasing it?
long-term longevity
Yeah.
type thing where we
Yeah.
get revenue every year,
mhm.
because it is very beautiful.
It is, yeah. I was in it like 10 years ago and it wasn't very impressive, but now it's very nice. Yeah. Yes?
Do that, maybe think about the Taylorsville Elementary campus. Do these programs, when a school is not being used and you lease it to other programs, does that funding basically pay for the building for the year? I would hope that it would.
It doesn't.
We
So-
should look into it, you're doing that,
So,
so that the
yeah.
minimal maintenance and the minimal heating and all of that to keep
Oh.
the building running, now I'm just speaking specifically about Taylorsville.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, that doesn't, yeah.
Empty for so long, but I know it's being used, at some points during the year, that it would make sense for whoever's using it to, that empty, non-used school wouldn't cost the district any money. It's only
And that's why it's in the process of being sold. So, yeah, we're trying to, because all it is a maintenance nightmare, and not being used, so.
Yes, here it is.
Yeah, so Taylorsville is in that process. There's been a resolution passed. We think we have a buyer, and so that's in process. So I'd love to just get that over with. That'd be nice. So, yeah, it's bad to have a building that's not being used because it just goes downhill really quickly. Yes?
Consolidating principals, is that gonna happen here?
No, not this year. I'll say that, yeah. I don't know about the future, but I'll say for this year.
As in this coming year or the rest of this year?
No, I mean 26,
26,
27, yeah. Yes?
So a long time ago, when they shut down Taylorsville, we found the deed to Taylorsville. And in the deed, it said if it was given to the school district only to be used as a school. You might check that before you go selling it, that it needed to go back to the family that owned it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
we found that, and that's why they never sold it a long time ago. So just
That is
maybe make
really good
sure.
information. Okay. So, and do you know where that deed is?
I don't, but I know the lady that found it, I could ask her.
That'd be great. I mean, we need that information for sure.
It's Carol Viscara.
Okay. Have you guys ever heard that?
No, because we did find paperwork just as, it's very, sorry.
Thank you, Misty, it's very interesting. We did look through that when we were speaking with legal, like how does that process work? We did find that they had a 7-Eleven committee and they actually passed a resolution with the board to sell it. And usually once those things are done, they're good to sell it, so. But that is good to know that there's a deed, so we can reach out to
Supposedly,
Carol.
I haven't seen it, but that is what
Okay.
stopped the process back then.
Okay.
Because the resolution was never pulled, like it's still there, rescinded,
So
so.
we'll do research and,
I mean.
yeah. Or if anybody
why
has
not?
a picture or access to that, that'd be great to have it. Yeah, thank you.
Even if it did sell, that's just a one-time,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So how much real estate does the district own that could be sold and put in against, the one-time funds?
Yeah, nothing would count toward the 9.5, but it would come in as cash, so that would be good. I recently found out we have like plots of land,
Yeah.
different places, which I didn't know about. And so, yeah. And Andrea knows more about that than I
So
do.
someone had contacted me, like, are you guys aware that you own land specifically talking about Portola. So I worked with the assessor's office, and they actually gave us the list of our schools, we know we have those, but then a list of other several plots that we own with the assessor's number and the addresses. So right now I'm working on going to all of these places and seeing, what are you? So, because some of them are just plots of land. So we are working on those pieces as well.
Yes.
So I have a question. On the loan that we took out from the state, is there because I did the math, we borrowed 8 million and we have to pay $600,000 back for 30 years, that's $18 million. And we were to, let's say, make lump sum payments because we were selling properties and like if we moved the district office to the Alder campus and sold that, could we forego some of that interest by paying lump sums back sooner?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's great thinking, definitely. And unfortunately, I don't know if I said, the loan's at 6% interest, which is,
That's
to
crazy.
me, is ridiculous.
That doesn't feel like help from the state.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a lot of help. So, but yeah, so if we sold something, then just put a little bit extra on that, each year, and then, reduce our timeline. And I think we'll be in a position to do that.
And we have doesn't the district own a fourplex in Quincy? That could be sold for probably.
Yeah, the only deal with that is that it is bought and paid for, so it's income for us. So we can rent out those units and get income forever out of those units, so I'd be.
Being rented for right now.
Where does that income go?
What's that?
Where would that income from this duplex income go? Could it go directly to being paid off on the
Yeah,
principal of the
definitely.
loan?
Yeah, so, yeah, and I mean, there's such a bad housing market in Quincy, nobody can find a place to rent. So those can be rented, at, more high dollar than I think we're gonna reassess what the rent, I don't know what the rent is, but, we can reassess what the rent is there. So I think it would be silly to sell the apartments because it's an income source for us, forever, basically. So that, different than a plot of land that we're not getting anything out of, so. What's that?
You're paying taxes on it.
Yeah, right, yeah, well,
Like who's administering the management of the, if we can't even make good decisions to do our mission statement, which is kids first, basically in short term, like if we can't even administer teaching kids, why do we have business paying somebody to administer rental housing for our district? You don't have to answer that.
we're not paying anybody to do that.
So
That's just,
the buildings just manage themselves, like?
no, maintenance-wise, we maintain them, but, I mean, we're not like we're paying a property, management company or anything like that.
Well, there's a cost associated with it though.
Oh, sure, yeah. I guess I look at it from a personal standpoint, if I had a fourplex and it was paid for, I would hang on to it because that's income for the rest of my life. Whereas if I sold it, then I don't know, you have to do something with that money. I bet, I mean, I guess it's debatable, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
No, it makes a lot more sense to keep
Yeah.
people in there, but my thing is, how much are they going for? Are they staying up to current rate rental incomes right now? Because there are things going for sale or for rent in Quincy that are $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $2,700.
Yeah.
So what are they actually paying for in those rentals?
Yeah. I'm not sure what it is, but I know we've had discussions about raising it, whatever it is. So, yeah.
I have a question about, after the February board meeting. I appreciate knowing a plan by then. I'm wondering how specific are we going to get, school specific? Will we know what classes will be combined next year? Will we know what does that bus schedule look like for Greenville Elementary specifically? Will we know, what does the lunch situation look like? How specific is that gonna get after that, at that February 11th?
So the February board meeting, will have, basically layoffs on there.
Okay.
And so, this isn't just Greenville, this is district-wide. So, if we eliminate 10 teachers, it goes from last one in, first one out. So you go to the bottom of the list, and then you start going through the process. And so, so that could be anywhere in the district. So, and then if you're looking at Greenville specifically, I think we'll be able to figure out. So next Tuesday, we have a meeting with all the principals. We've already gone through it once with them. We'll go through it again to make sure that our, I think on the elementary level, we have a fairly good idea. On the high school level, it's more complicated because of the master schedules get a little bit difficult with credentials and things like that. So that's on the teaching stamp on part of it. And then on the classified part of it, you know, there's all the different classified positions that will be on that list as well. There won't be names with them, but there'll be numbers of positions and departments of positions on that list.
So as parents and families, when can we expect to know what next fall will look like for our specific programs for our kids?
That's something that your site principals will work on, and then when they share that information out with their,
Okay,
with their families.
but not next summer, right?
Not next month?
Not like the week before school starts, right?
It's
Oh, no,
however your
no.
principal's usually done it, where they've gotten out the information as to what it looks like.
Yeah, I feel like timing wise, we're in a pretty good spot right now. We're not like running up against, so March 15th is the deadline. I don't feel like, oh no, you know, we're gonna panic. We're gonna go through this methodically. We're gonna do it intentionally. We're gonna do it right. And so, so it's gonna be done well, so, yes.
If our student scores end up dropping due to combined classrooms over time, is there going to be a readjustment?
There will always be a reassessment, yeah, from year to year. I guess, I mean, this is my personal opinion. I think our scores district-wide are gonna improve over the next 3 years. I think we're gonna be efficient. I think that our curriculum instruction folks, through a couple of different initiatives, MTSS, and some different things that we're doing district-wide, is going to improve the effectiveness of our instruction. You know, because really, student achievement comes down to instruction in the classroom. And so, I know that combination classrooms are, you know, more challenging to work with, but I think overall, we're not going to see a big drop. We're not going to see a big drop. I think we're going to see an increase in student achievement. But I mean, I might be wrong, but that's my personal opinion on it. Yes.
For Greenville specifically, in regards to Rachel's question, by February 11th, will you have an idea of what based on our enrollment, what the staff to student ratio would be per classroom? And is that adjusted when you have a split class? Is there a difference between a split class staff to student ratio or just in general?
It's considered. There's not anything, you know, in stone on that, but, you know, if you're gonna have a combo class, it'll, the consideration of giving you a few less students will certainly be considered. But that's, you know, at the site level and figuring those numbers out. We've already gone through the numbers on most schools. You know, you gotta kind of figure out, okay, how many students are leaving you, how many TKers are coming in, how many third and fourth graders do you have, so all that stuff, it's just site by site trying to figure it out. And so we're gonna try to be as efficient as we can with the schedules, and so, you know, that's where we're at. So, and then unfortunately, overall, Greenville doesn't have, you know, 25, 30 first graders, second graders, third graders, fourth graders. It varies depending on the grade. So, and we'll probably end up with not having some of them, you know, combos, but some of them will. Yeah, Nikki.
So first through third grade is the 24-to-1 ratio is what they like, contract-wise even as well, but the state level is actually, is it 30 or 32?
30, I think, yeah.
Statewide, so we cannot exceed 30-to-1 in a first through third grade. We would have to hire a new teacher. But contract-wise, we like to stay between 24-to-1, and then fourth through sixth grade would be 30-to-1. So that's kind of where they are wanting our class sizes to be in the ballpark.
And I mean, we're talking about money here and finances and all that stuff. I don't want to give you the impression that, all we care about is getting to that 9.5. Student achievement is a big priority. We actually, FICMAT evaluates us on student achievement. And so we have 152 standards that we're held to, that they give us. And we have to go through all of those. And so if we go putting 35, 40 kids in the class, we're probably not gonna meet those standards. Not that we could, but if we did that. So we're not gonna see, a zillion kids in the class. We're gonna still try to keep the quality of education that we currently have. So, okay. Okay, so we're a basic aid district, and I don't know if everybody understands that. Generally, in a school district, you get paid whatever, $10,000 or something for every student that you have that comes to school on that day, so it's average daily attendance. Plymouth Unified School District is a basic aid district, so that's not how it works for us. So what we have, since our property taxes in Plymouth County are so high, then what we would get from the state is lower than that. So then what our schools are funded on is they're funded on property tax, not what they call a local control funding formula. We get a little bit of that money, but the majority of the money that we get for our schools is property taxes. And that's due to Lake Almanor and probably some Graygle properties that are high property tax areas. And so it's a little bit different when you're talking about a basic aid district. There's things that we don't get. Our ADA is important. We want kids to be in school because we know that's best for them, but it's not like we lose out like a regular district would if we don't get that ADA. So that's a basic aid district. The other basic aid districts in the state are like, they're in like Santa Clara and some big wealthy areas in the Bay Area and stuff like that. But that's the other bad part for Plymouth is those basic aid districts are basic aid. I mean, they're like way up there. They have a ton of money. And Plymouth is basic aid, like down here. We're a little bit basic aid. So it's not a huge benefit to us. So yeah, that's just where we're at.
Sorry to interrupt. How often are those numbers reassessed to see which is the better deal?
Every year. Yeah. And, we're actually talking to CDE and FICMAT today, and I said, so we're in basic aid, so do you see us like coming out of basic aid back to an ADA? And Mike Fine said, no. He says, your enrollment's gonna continue to drop, and you're gonna probably just get deeper into basic aid. It's not like you're gonna be in and out or anything like that. And it's kind of based on a few other calculations, and just looking forward, it doesn't look like we're gonna be out of basic aid going forward.
Why does he think that the enrollment's gonna continue to drop?
Because it has been in the past. Yeah, that's just the trend.
Can Mike Fine, fight for some sort of loan forgiveness up to a certain amount? Because you said earlier that the Department of Education is like our overseer, so clearly they missed some steps as well. So can he fight because of that to forgive part of that giant loan?
Maybe, I don't know.
Or match it, do a matching system?
Yeah.
Because that would be like, you take some responsibility here too. I'm not saying that, obviously there was some really big problems with what was happening.
Locally.
But we don't have to go in there, but if they're our overseer to check our budgets, to see that, everything is adding up, and got in this giant hole, even with the Department of Education oversight, like they should probably maybe
Have caught it earlier?
Yeah, so they could take some responsibility and hopefully forgive part of them.
I would agree with that. I don't know if they would,
It's worth a
forgive
shot.
part. It's worth a shot, And then, every time we come across something, I'm saying, but we're in receivership, can't we get like a waiver for that? So we're asking that a lot. But maybe as time goes on, we'll revisit that conversation. It's like, hey, is there any relief to this? You know, we've done a really good job, trying to get out of this hole. So, I mean, $8.5 million for the state of California is a drop in the bucket, you know?
I would
It's
definitely-
huge for us.
I would definitely go in with the eyes of the Department of Education currently does loan forgiveness for teachers if they teach in a specific school for 5 years straight in a row. Could we do something similar to being in receivership and doing very well on getting out of our space, that they give us loan forgiveness after a certain amount?
I like that. That's good. Yeah. That is really good. Yeah. So
I know that because I'm
maybe.
still paying my loans off, so.
Yeah. Been there, yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. That's good. Yeah. Yes.
That $8.5 million, does the district have any of that in hand in any accounts or anything?
So that was the loan that we received. So we have money to pay payroll and to get through the year because we have that.
Does the district have flexibility of where they can put that money year to year depending on how different accounts and investments are performing? So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and then
Part of that, when we took that $8.5 million.
Yeah.
The district is obligated, you have to pay back all of those pots of monies that you borrowed from. So that replenished all of those pots.
Right.
And having a little bit of a cash flow, and then, you know, handling that money, managing that money better. So
Right.
that's.
But it's not just stuck in like a savings account that
No,
at like
no.
2% or something?
Yeah, it's in our budget, so, and that's what we're using. And so the intent of that $8.5 million was to get us through, I think it was to get us through like Christmas, right, originally?
Originally,
Yeah.
and now
then-
it'll get us through
yeah,
the year.
I thought, holy moly. So then we said, no, we can pretty much get through the end of the school year on it. And then now, I think with some efficiencies, I have no plans of taking any more money from the state is the plan, you know? I can't guarantee that, but that is absolutely the goal, is not to take another dime from them, so. And then that'll be much better, you know, because if we doubled that, then we've got, you know, what, 1.2 billion or million that we have to pay back every year, and it just gets totally out of control at that point. So that's why these cuts are huge, yeah.
So say 3 years from now, we find all these money we didn't realize we had, the loans paid off. What happens to you? You were appointed by the state or whoever, you go back to wherever you came from, which sounds like you're doing a good job. But, so then, at that point, we'd be free to redistrict the whole thing, if we wanted to, whoever's in charge then.
I think that's my understanding, is if the loan's paid off, then you can pursue that kind of stuff. So, and it's worth it, yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the rate we're going, it's not gonna be 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, finding all this waste everywhere.
Right.
There's no more money to be found in the district because FICMA has gone through every, but I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
because that's
Sounds
always a
good.
hope.
Yeah. So, yeah, so these are just priorities for the community, for the communities in general. I know Greenville may be different, but athletics, band, music and arts, career technical education and vocational programs are a big one, after-school programs and extended learning opportunities program, nutrition services and college and dual enrollment. So the after, you know, some of that stuff is categorical funded, like the after-school programs. Our plan now is to really beef up our after-school programs because we have money there. You know, we have money in that after-school budget that we can't spend anywhere else, but we can really ramp up our after-school programs. That will help with our student achievement if we're strategic about it and we do it right. And then, you know, kind of go from there. And then CTE is a big one as well, especially at the high schools. And, you know, band and music I hear about like all the time. So that's a big priority as well as the dual enrollments. So some areas that are recommended for savings, district office staffing and administrative costs, transportation restructuring, community concerns, desire for improving communication and transparency, fear of losing programs that define student experience. And so that's not just in the classroom, that's you know, everything that they experience at the school, and worried about rush decisions without proper planning and timing, so, yes,
I just have a transportation concern.
yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, okay. So, transportation, has been a struggle. And I guess I could say publicly that it's been pretty mismanaged. It costs us, over $3 million a year to run buses, or the transportation department. So we struggled, I don't know how long, but since I've been here, getting bus drivers, getting mechanics. We have no mechanics left. And then we, had an interim transportation supervisor, but then he just left in end of December. And so right before Christmas break, we panicked when he said he was leaving, and we said, oh my gosh, we're not gonna be able to provide transportation at all because we just don't have anyone to do it. We don't have any of the infrastructure there, and so we can't do it. So luckily with Megan involved, and she took the reins on that, and our bus drivers, we had like an emergency meeting that Friday before break and said, hey, we're probably gonna need to just close down transportation for the spring because we just can't make it work. And they said, well, let us work on this. You know, there's you know, towing concerns, there's mechanic concerns, there's the issues with the checks on the buses, DMV and everything. So there's a lot of different things that I don't understand, but Megan gets it and other folks in the transportation department. So we said, okay, do what you can do. And then we met the following week and they had a pretty good plan. And they said, well, what we can do to get us through the spring is we can provide one route per community and just to keep things going. And so we thought, well, let's give it a try anyway. And I think it's worked for the most part so far. It hasn't worked for everybody because not everyone that used to get picked up is getting picked up now, but it seems like it's going. So we're getting there. We're gonna see how it goes. So the options for transportation is to just try to minimize what we're doing now. It's very, very expensive. It's shockingly expensive to me to run, or eliminate home to school transportation is the other option. And so we can't eliminate special ed transportation, so we would have to do that with vans. But as far as, you look at the 9.5 million and it would be a $3+ million savings, equal to about 35 teachers. And so then you just kind of start putting that in perspective. It's like, so what do we do? You know, do we keep transportation or do we keep it at a minimal level or do we cut it completely? And so that's what we're gonna be working on. I'm sure there's lots of questions. Yes?
Are district vehicles a part of that cost?
Or what?
District vehicles, so now we have district vehicles, correct?
Right, yeah.
Like, do we do maintenance on that, the gas for those, you know?
Yeah.
Or do we have some extras that we could sell?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We have like some rogues. They're actually leased. The district has leased those vehicles. The majority of the vehicles that we have are leased. So we actually we have them at the bus barn and I think they're ready to pick up hopefully. So we're getting rid of those vehicles. And then, you know, we'll kind of see where we are with transportation. But as far as if we were to need vans, then we could bring in vans without the bus part of it. Yeah.
Something to consider, repercussion, completely shutting down transportation. We might end up with less students.
Yeah. Right.
Significantly less students, and then you're even in more hole.
Right. Yeah.
And to add to that, not only I'm really worried about if you take the transportation, you're gonna have a lot of people pull their kids from school because the parents don't have transportation. And if you can't get the kids to school, then you have to worry about how many kids in our district may be going hungry because they eat breakfast here, they eat lunch here, they eat snacks here. And that's 3 meals a day and trust me when I say that may be their only meals.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
you're not just cutting transportation, but you're you're really hurting the, the lower income children. And that's really the bottom line, is who's paying for all this mess that has been happening for years with adults. Adults ran this whole thing into the ground. Not our children, not our parents, and not our teachers. But they are the ones, the first ones where the cuts are going to the kids, and that's sad.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
I would disagree on the first. I mean, that was the whole concept of this, is keeping the cuts as far away from kids and
No,
far
I
away from
mean
the classroom as
before you,
possible.
before you.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that you're
Yeah.
trying to change it, but I'm talking about, we had no idea what was going on.
No.
Until not too long ago, when we're already, we're $20 million in the hole, really? We didn't know, so.
Yeah, totally agree.
The kids are the ones suffering.
Yeah, and, okay, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, I think it's hard to say we're putting our kids first when we're not even getting them to the schools. That's like those basic first steps.
Yeah, well, yeah, I understand. And I said before, all these decisions aren't gonna be good for kids. So, I mean, we'll see where we're at, if we can come up with a compromise or not, but we've gotta get that 3 million somewhere. Yeah.
I know you were talking about like permanent cuts, so is transportation something that, like, if we lose our buses, would that be a permanent thing for the
That
next?
Yeah, that would be how that would work, because otherwise it wouldn't be a significant savings, really. You know, if you kept the infrastructure, you kept the buses and all that, you wouldn't really have the savings. But if you eliminated it all, there would be the big savings there, unfortunately. Yes?
How much does it save going down to what we have, like, starting this week, to the one bus per community? Do we know that yet?
That's a good question, I'm not sure.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not 3 million, but I
Yeah,
wonder
no,
something.
yeah, I'm not sure. Yes?
I was just thinking about the charter and how the charter families have to contribute a bus cost for their kids to ride the bus. It's possible that we move in that direction, but have help for low-income families through government agencies or even county agencies like PRS, who helps pay for certain childcare costs for low-income families. It's possible that busing costs could also be issued through those types of agencies.
To offset the cost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you looked at grants for transportation?
No.
They're out there.
Yeah, I got here in October, I've been busy, but but it's, it's definitely worth looking into for sure. Yes?
First, on grants, do we have a grant writer in our district?
We don't necessarily have a grant writer, we have someone who's responsible for our grants. We get a lot of grants. We get a lot of grants through the county office, and that contributes to the school district, and so it's basically free money for the school districts. So that's, really, really beneficial. In my career, I've had grant writers, or I've paid companies to do grant writing, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't pay off as much as it does. But, if you're aware of a specific grant that's kind of big or whatever, and then you pursue it, then that's really good. And, we could certainly do that. If we hired another position as a grant writer, I don't know. I don't know if that's really gonna be the most responsible thing to do or not, when we're cutting teachers and everybody else.
If you have an effective grant writer, they can write grants for their own salary.
Yeah, I've had that before. I've had those before, yes.
And then my next question is, when we're looking for cuts and looking for places to cut big money, have we looked at outsourcing our payroll and our human resources to companies that's all they do? Instead of keeping so many people on staff at the district office?
So I took that to CDE today and FICMAT, and basically, and I kind of knew this, I guess, at being a county superintendent, but Mike Bynes said that we don't do that because, or districts can't do that because of the county treasury. You can't have that money coming from private entities. So what some school districts do is they contract those services with their county office. And so, we had small districts in Tehama County, and so we would do like some of their business operations. But they would pay us to do it, but we would do some of their business operations. And if they're small, they didn't have a whole lot of HR to do. And like Siskiyou County has 25 school districts and not very many kids, and they're spread out everywhere in Siskiyou County. And so their county office does a lot of that type of stuff, mostly business, not so much HR. So, we're a larger district than a lot of those districts that are, 200 kids, which don't really need much HR. Our HR department is very busy. And HR is just like, you're gonna fire somebody by getting on a Zoom with them. It's just kind of awkward and weird, so.
What about outsourcing payroll? We have so many pay specialists, or at least last time I looked, a lot of people in that department, and is that really necessary? I mean, if we outsource it, wouldn't that be less expensive?
Yeah, and so the option there would be to outsource it to a county office, so,
And
yeah.
that was one of my questions. Can the county take over the transportation department? In
You mean Plumas County?
Lewis County Office of Ed, take over.
Oh, Plumas County Office of Ed.
To take over the transportation department for Plumas County.
Because it is countywide.
It is a countywide need.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but,
Fiscally, it'd be hard.
My understanding is that Plumas
I guess-
County Office of Education is okay financially.
right, but they would need to
But then you
have
would
money
need that
to
extra
run the programs.
What does fund the program?
General fund. Yeah. Plumas
One of
Unified
the
School
things
District.
that we are working on as we work through,
all of these, we are trying to be resourceful. Megan's providing a lot of information for us. We're looking at that with One Route, but we also met with one of the board of supervisors today. And we're also trying to meet with Plumas Transit System so that they can also see how they can support us as well. Maybe offer other routes besides just our one route per community, or if we can have some type of service like an MOU with mechanics. So we are looking at many options as we can.
What about the after-school program? You said you were going to enlarge it. So is there money in the after-school program that would provide homeschool transportation?
Home to school transportation.
From
No,
school to home?
Oh,
The afternoon bus route will be transferred to the after-school program funding.
I am not positive on that. I don't know.
That's a good idea.
No. Yeah.
And I can see some big advantages to that after-school program, because when I was teaching here 30 years ago, we tried as a staff to lengthen the school day, and teachers even stopped it, but, because they didn't want it to go district-wide, but, the after-school program could run the same as that. If everybody was enrolled in the after-school program, and your after-school program is paid for by enrolled students, and then you could pay for the transportation for them home, and the kids, all kids would get the support, the extra support they needed, like in homework and that kind of thing.
Oh, I love that. I will check on that tomorrow. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's a good thought. Because we do have money in the after-school budget, so that's good. But yeah, I don't know if since it's a grant, there's specific things you can use that for, and I don't know if
We
transportation
have
part of it.
used, like the summer program, we used to haul kids to the pool and stuff in the summer.
We did that last summer too, so, but we brought kids over on the bus during the summer from Chester.
Oh, okay.
So we had our ELOC program was here, and the bus driver from Chester brought the kids over, and then if we had a field trip to go to the pool or go anywhere, he was our bus driver.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find out, but I'm not sure. It's good thoughts. Thank you. Yes.
So is this decision going to be announced like the rest of them at the board meeting next week?
Yes, yeah. So we'll know.
Creeping up on 30 days of that. Are you guys leaning one way or another yet?
Well, yeah, we were at we're done. Before Christmas, it was gonna be over. But luckily, the transportation department stepped in and said, well, let's try this. So now it's a little bit of an experiment. And we really would need to do more of a financial analysis too on it. But we'll see how it goes. But we'll know in February, at the February meeting.
Thank you, Megan and Misty, for putting your hats on.
Absolutely. Really amazing job. I just wish we had them sooner, yes,
We have Megan and Misty
right.
and wouldn't be where we are without them.
Uh-huh.
But we also have a very capable mechanic in the room tonight. We have a very capable towing company representative in the room tonight that I feel like
Oh, okay.
would be worth it to recognize.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, it takes a village, so appreciate all of you and your support, so. So those are, this is kind of toward the end, and this is, next steps and where we're going, by whatever months or whatever, so, actually, February will be the finalization of the stabilization plan. Staffing notices will be issued to people who are getting pink slips, basically. We integrate initial reductions into our second interim report, so what we reduce, we put in the budget for the next report. And then we've already been doing a lot of planning for the transition of the Quincy campuses, but we'll continue that process as well. And then we'll just, beyond that, I don't know that we'll get to the 9.5. We're gonna try to get as close as we possibly can. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So, see what happens next year and see if there's other areas that we can be more efficient in next year and try to cut more if we don't reach our number. So unfortunately, yes.
If you do have to cut transportation and it decreases enrollment, whether it be Chester or here, then doesn't that put our school at risk for closing if enrollment drops very much?
Are you talking about Greenville? Or are you talking about Greenville?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, it's just gonna be tough to close Greenville without taking 4-year-olds and putting them on a bus to Chester or to Quincy.
In the
So,
And there's no bus.
and there's no bus, by the way. Yeah. So, I guess in theory, but it doesn't make sense to me to put little kids, in transportation on icy roads.
Yes, because there's no bathrooms.
That's right.
There's no trees.
One of the things that was explained to us when going into receivership, like
today they said we can't create new districts. One of the things that was explained to me as well, you can't just shut schools down either.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah,
you
that's a
can't
good
just
point.
close them.
Okay, well, that's good, yeah.
Last time we spoke, you said you were gonna check into the possibility of us losing the TK program because the district-wide, we only have to have the offering of a TK program within the district. Since we are single, it's possible that we could all lose the TK program except for one stabilized TK program within the entire district. Has that been looked at even further, or is that not on the table?
I mean, that's a possibility. I think we could probably do something like that. It wouldn't be equitable. I mean, if we had a TK program in Quincy, then what are the other TKers gonna do throughout the community or throughout the other communities? And then also, we're seeing benefit from TK. So we're seeing, benefits academically and emotionally and all that. So it's not something that we really want to do. I'm not gonna take it off the table completely, but, it just doesn't seem like a good thing to do. What really kills us on that is, they're saying if you have, now it's 1 to 10 ratio for adult to students. And we might be able to fudge that a little bit. I asked them, because, my discussion with CDE was, do we even have to run TK? And they kind of hem and hawed and said, well, you have to run a TK program, at least one in the district. And well, that doesn't work for us because we're just too spread out. So, I think we need to commit to TK for now and see how it goes. But I think the academic and the emotional and everything else that they get in TK is really beneficial for the rest of the grade. So trying not to go there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's my job, so. But the other part of that is, the rest, we can talk about, the rest of the state is getting a considerable amount of money to run TK programs, but we're also not getting that money because we're not state funded. Is there a way for us to go to the Department of Education to get those grants to us specifically for that program?
Yeah, and I asked them about that, and basically we're out of luck. I mean, we just, because we're basic aid, you know, because if we weren't basic aid, we would just get ADA per student, and all those TKers we would be funded for, and we're just not because we're basic aid. So, I mean, they look at basic aid like we're very wealthy, we have lots of money, you know, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Their basic aid is not, every basic aid district is not in the same situation, so, yes?
A couple of things. One, I just, I really hope that in making the decision with the transportation, that we really look at all the layers. To me, I'm seeing not just getting kids to school, I'm seeing people moved out of the area, because if people have to work, so they can't get here at 8 o'clock to drop their kid off and get back at 2:40 to pick their kid up, then they can't go to work, you know what I mean? They can't, and if they can't work, they can't, you know, pay for their living. And so then I can see people going, I just can't live here, I can't get my kids educated, I can't work here, so I can see them moving out of the area. Okay, then what happens? Oh, then it hurts our small business. So we don't have people coming in and supporting small businesses because they've left the area. I just see like a ghost town happening real quick if we take away transportation. So I really hope that we look at all the different layers that will affect. It's not just getting kids to school, that's huge, but it goes further and further. And obviously kids' education, because they're okay, well, homeschool. It's really hard to homeschool and work at the same time, you know? So I just, there's so many pieces and that affects that. I think that it's gonna be, in the long run for our county, a lot more than 3 million that you would save, that the county would lose out on. And so, to me, that number is not, that's not 3 million, it's way more. And it's not just for our schools, it's for the whole county that's gonna lose out if you take away busing. So I think that we at least need to do what we have now with the one running, that's something. But that's my take on that. And then my other thing was all of the questions or thoughts that we had that you're writing down, are we gonna get some response to? Like, are you guys gonna look into those and like, here's what we found out about this, that, and the other, and have some feedback? Because I know there was a lot of really good points brought up and questions, and I'm curious for the answers.
That's a good question. We have the questions, but,
Yeah, you've got it, so I was just
maybe
wondering,
we could email them to Nikki, and, yeah.
not just the questions, but like what you find.
No, I mean the answers,
Yeah,
not-
responses.
We also have questions, we'll send them to you.
Yes,
Do you know the percent of kids that are enrolled that are bused to school?
no, but that is a question that I have. I don't know what that percentage is at this point. I mean,
know it's really high.
52 on the bus this morning here.
how many?
52 on the bus
52.
this morning.
That's 50% of our student population.
Are those charter school kids too? Or is it just
No,
us?
that's just our.
There's 10 charter, so
Oh, okay.
42 from the elementary.
But there's less on the bus because they don't pick up other kids now, so
Yeah, I do have-
there are
I
more students
would
that
have
ride the
sent
bus.
mine on the bus today since I was coming to Quincy,
Mhm.
but then they'd have to leave my house in the dark and walk a couple miles to get to the bus. And so I just said, okay, I'll drive you to school first and then get to Quincy.
Right.
So, so you would have had 3 more.
Yeah. And it probably also affects different communities differently too, you know? So it just depends on the community. Yeah,
I know for Greenville specifically, a lot of parents here travel to Quincy or Chester for work. So we are very different from Quincy and Chester because our parents commute. And that really affects pick up and drop off.
okay.
And so I think that's something that should really be considered because, you know, even though they may have like a larger area that the buses cover, our parents travel a lot farther
Yeah.
for work.
That's good.
Yeah, we had said something about that in the last meeting, is that no one really travels to Greenville to work. We all have to travel outside of the area to work. And so the busing system is really important for those families to make sure their kids get to, because like I was saying, if I get laid off from Greenville Elementary School, which is a highly likely, it's probability, Greenville Elementary would lose all 4 of my children because I would not be able to bring my kids to school here and report for duty in Chester or Quincy at 7:40 in the morning because the school's not even open yet. So there's not even anybody here until 7:45 and I have to be at work at Quincy at 7:40. So, or Chester or wherever I get placed if I have to transfer. So, I think when you're looking at the transportation situation, it's really important to look at not the entire district, but the communities inside of it, because Greenville is very, very different from the other communities when it comes to transportation. Because if you look at what Misty said this morning, almost 50% of our school population is bused in every morning.
And that's fewer.
And that's fewer, yeah, because we lost a whole group.
Oh, of Greenville, yeah,
Right.
yeah, right,
And
okay.
that's fewer kids than Fort Wright that we're using.
Right.
Buses.
So I got something to say about the transportation. So I went over there, it would have been 2 weeks ago, and met with the mechanics in the bus shop who were leaving.
Oh, right.
And they did a great job. Sad to see them go. But to try to keep the buses running in any way at all, there needs to be someone there full-time in that shop. That's what
Totally
I say.
agree. Yeah, and there hasn't been, and it's been a mess. So, yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Sarah, you're saying that you have some time in your schedule.
No, I mean, I don't live in Quincy, it's not, I'd be willing to work on them when I'm able to, but it's, you know, that it needs to be someone dedicated, probably 2 people in that shop. Because
And
not
paid a
only do
fair
they
salary, yeah,
maintain
paid
all
a
the
fair salary.
vehicles within the whole district, like little things, lawnmowers,
Yeah,
just
right.
everything.
Snowplows,
You
all
know,
that stuff, yeah.
so if you don't have somebody there working on little stuff, the big stuff, I mean, minimum 2 guys, full-time.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So that's why we've been, flying the mechanic positions, the bus driver positions, the supervisor positions, and
Nobody's jumped on them.
nobody's applying for it.
So talking to those,
Other places, I don't think people know to get on EdJoin or the district site.
Yeah.
There should be other places that we could, post office, school districts, grocery stores, put a flyer up saying these positions are available, because I wouldn't have known to look on the district site for a mechanic.
well, I would say, part of the reason.
If I was coming in now, I don't know if I would, because you don't know if you're gonna have next year.
Right.
That's hard.
Yeah, that's
You have a
true.
gig and you're
That's
not a
true,
mechanic gig, and you're like, well, yeah, I'd come in, but I don't have a job next year. Who the hell's gonna do that?
Well, the one guy who was there at the shop had only been there a month,
Right.
and then was threatened with his job, and he said, all right, I'm leaving. And I don't blame him.
I don't blame him at all.
But I don't know that the number, hourly wage for those guys is enough of an incentive to make people come here to want to do it. Because people almost have to come from somewhere else. If you want to find someone good who's going to do a good job, you got to give them that security.
Yeah.
Maybe we can house them in one of our fourplexes.
And we've talked about, increasing those salaries and stuff like that, but, how are you gonna increase those salaries and then lay off teachers? That's,
It goes both ways.
It's a tough,
Do we
tough deal.
go and seek them out ever though? Like go to WyoTech to, put an email to the instructors there and be like, hey, we're looking for, mechanics, blah, blah, blah. Even, because we talked about the pay or not wanting to come if their job isn't secure for several years. But sometimes you just need experience. So some people who are young, just starting out, like, all right, that's cool, I got a job, and they'll get some experience. And so I was just thinking, if it's, like you guys said, people aren't gonna look on EdJoin if you're coming out of some mechanic school. But if we reached out, maybe then you'd find someone. That's how I got my first teaching job. They reached out to one of my professors and she was like, Heidi, you like small towns in winter? Do you wanna go? And I'm looking for someone. So that's how I got my first teaching job. I would have never known about that place,
Oh, wow. That's good, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good. We have not done that. But,
Write down.
Yeah, I have it. It's right there.
I got a whole list, you guys have a lot of ideas.
Well, we wanna make this possible for the kids to use this school.
Absolutely.
So do we.
It's really.
Well, the cost of transportation too, I know there's a lot of buses and reducing the amount of routes. I mean, selling off buses that are not needed, but then keeping good ones that are not broke down all the time and getting rid of the bad ones, which,
So Sam,
We should have already done that, but.
the problem is, no one wants the propane or electric. And the only ones that run worth a damn are your diesels, so.
Absolutely
You
right.
get rid of your only buses that are worth anything, and you're gonna be stranded.
oh no.
No, we'll just stay with all the electric ones.
Sorry.
They work just fine.
No, they don't.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Well, I just want to say thank you. There's not good decisions to be made, so I don't know. You know, we'll just vet through this whole process in the next few weeks and figure out where we're at. And sorry when something that's near and dear to your heart is cut, but we've got to cut. So, yes.
Will you share that information in February board meeting?
Yes, yeah.
Where is February board meeting?
In Quincy, it's in Quincy, but it'll be on the TV too, so, yeah, yes.
So a question was just raised and it actually just blew my mind because I didn't think about this. If we do away with transportation, we don't have field trips at all. And that's definitely impacting student education.
Definitely, it's what we're have to outdoor.
Education programs as
We don't
well.
have money for field trip.
Parents fund that.
Yeah, that's parents.
We pay for all of our field trips.
No, I'm not.
So I don't know how that would work.
It's all complicated,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Something about outdoor education in this area is incredibly important.
Absolutely, I agree with that statement, yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We will see you virtually or in person, hopefully in February.